It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear, no fear, no fear until it's night on the border, late, and you got a, like a uniform, a gun, and badge in your face. Let's talk about that. Let me tell you what happened. Last night, Adam Kokesh stopped by my home in North Phoenix to pick up a couple of guys. We had Nick Barnett, Drew Phillips, and Thomas Costanzo going to the Freedom Law Conference in California, it's just east of L.A. Now, they left last night about, 8 o'clock or so. They're heading west. They're getting there to get there early and take their time and kind of just enjoy themselves and go. And then all of a sudden, I start getting texts from Drew. Yep, we're at the border. Yep, they stopped us. Yep, they want us out of the vehicle. Yep, they're searching the vehicle. Yep, they found guns, medications. Oh, my goodness. And here's my sister's phone number, just in case. So we got Adam Kokesh on there. Adam, go ahead and tell me the story, man.
Wait a second. You think the fear starts when they put a gun in your face next to a cheesy green uniform? Like the Border Patrol? Seriously? Come on, Ernie, you know me better than that. I've faced down a lot worse, but you know what? It's when you live your life like government doesn't exist that you set yourself up for fun, ridiculous situations like this. And we got tagged by a dog at the border. I was transporting a acceptable legal personal stash of medical marijuana and anticipating the possibility of testing the reciprocity clause of Arizona's new law and willing to face a citation in California for the one thing that lets me sleep at night, aside from the drugs that they wanted to feed me from the VA with, a few different suicidal side effects. But we got tagged. I got pulled out of the vehicle. I was rough-handled a little bit, frisked, pulled off to the side, and they found my 2 loaded firearms. They found, of course, the marijuana in question, and it ended up being quite an interesting experience. I was not anticipating the Border Patrol part of this, and we didn't anticipate that particular checkpoint. But
which highway were you on?
Excuse me?
Which highway were you on?
This was on the 10. On the 10.
How far is the Mexican border from there?
Yeah, how far is the Mexican border? I don't know.
It's like hundreds of miles.
Hundreds. Border Patrol. Hey, if it made sense, it wouldn't be the government. I actually asked one of the guys about this during our encounter and said, well, maybe being a little bit facetious, saying, there's a legitimate function of Border Patrol, but isn't it on the border? And the argument comes back, well, we have people we have to catch who are committing violations all over the country. Yeah, but aren't there other agencies for that? Yeah, well, we're doing their job.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and give a little bit of history, before you get to finish on this, on you. I mean, you're an Iraq veteran. You were in Fallujah. We just had a woman on the last hour, Helen Benedict, did an article and wrote a book on the women that were abused and raped there that are now suing the Pentagon. And my question is that I talked to her, the very people that you would expect to be protected the most. Those that would be representative of us going, we're going to spread the American way to some place. You would think that the people that go over there would be treated at least by the standard that you're espousing. Then let me go ahead and finish this. I'll give you the opportunity, but it's. You go over there, you get disillusioned, you see what the government's really capable of, you see that what you went over to help and you actually wanted to learn Arabic, you learned Arabic so you could help the people, you see that's not what's going on. Then you come back here, you come awakened to what government really is, you start to resist, you went through some trauma there, so they of course want to feed you with a bunch of chemicals and all this kind of stuff. You go, you know what, a little bit of marijuana does me just fine, I'm good. Well, now you get, access to it because you're from New Mexico. Now, let's go ahead and talk about that. We can't just breeze over this.
There's a big problem with this. There's a big problem with this already because the attitude of our government in dealing with veterans is come home, take your disability, take your drugs, get stupid, shut up, and go away. And the reason they don't like marijuana is because it doesn't lead veterans to do that. It opens the mind and makes people question things because when you realize that marijuana is a perfectly safe substance capable of helping lots of people, you have to wonder, wait a second, why has this been illegal for so long? Why is it still illegal? And none of the there's the problem with libertarians. We ask why when it comes to government, and the answers usually aren't very satisfying. But
let's go ahead and talk about your legal access to this drug. How it is that you went through a border checkpoint. The dog goes, I think Adam be, having some marijuana here. So what is it you presented to them that got you out of that situation?
For people that don't have my experience, I don't want to say like, don't try this at home, or sound like, I'm some kind of expert, but I have been arrested a couple dozen times, and it's still sound advice. It is still absolutely sound advice. If you don't know what you're doing when you get arrested, don't say anything. However, this is one of those exceptions, that proves the rule, and there are opportunities to talk and communicate with the thugs putting guns in your faces when the situation arises in a way to relate to them as human beings. And we were able to debate and just discuss and talk about so many issues, and I felt like these kinds of conversations are so valuable because when you're talking about the people, the men and women that are the actual enforcers for our corrupt system, you can't just talk to them on the street and be like, in their face, you're endorsing corruption, you're the muscle of corruption. If you do that, you're going to turn them off, and you're going to make them react worse to you when they do arrest you if they have some, government fabricated reason to arrest you. So being able to reach out and make that connection was really important in terms of how we were able to get out of this, because they told me that having a loaded firearm and drugs
meant jail forever.
Regardless, it's a felony. And if they wanted to, right then, they could have written us up. Well, they could have said, this nug of marijuana is yours, 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 and yours, and this gun is yours, and that bullet's yours, and that bullet's yours, and that gun's yours, and you're all going to jail for felony. And that could have happened last night. That could have happened to all four of us last night. As it was, the Border Patrol agents, at least except for the first one that assaulted me, who was later taken to a different case, were, as individuals, attempting to be respectful and polite, and one of them was a Marine Corps Iraq veteran who had actually done 3 tours and was in the Fallujah area the same time that I was, and was in some of the same places, the same camps, the same bases, the same checkpoints even that I had been in. And we were debating the morality of this situation. While they were rifling through all of our gear and had all of our luggage strewn across the roadway there, they're rifling through all of the great materials that my friends, Nick and Drew and Tom brought from Phoenix for this conference here with the Freedom Law School in Ontario. And I guess you'll have to hear.
Yeah, no. This is great. This is great. We got it all prepped up. Now, you guys pay attention because they were representing, wallet voting and silver and Freedom's Phoenix and all this stuff. If they got all everything all spread out on the side of the road, they got an education now, didn't they? And who better to
Police
explain it
State
to
4.
him than Adam? And he'll tell us what happened when we come back in just a little bit.